This is the perfect move, which changes everything for the Dallas Cowboys as they need to fill one giant hole on defense created by that offseason move that everyone knows what I'm talking about. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Cowboys Football 365. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, please hit that subscribe button. But getting into the news for today, coming from Bleacher Report, there's a Micah Parsons-size hole impacting the Cowboys defense. Johnson isn't Trey Hendrickson, but he's younger and under contract in 2026. I think that job's better with the Cowboys, who need a longer-term solution here. Johnson referring to Jermaine Johnson from the New York Jets, the third of the New York Jets' 3 first-round picks in 2022 after Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson were both selected in the top 10. Joe Douglas, of the general manager of the New York Jets, traded back up into the first round to go snag Jermaine Johnson. And while last season, he tore his Achilles in about the second game of the year. He started off hot to his career. First year really was only used as a special teams player, but his sophomore season, Jermaine Johnson had 7.5 sacks, had a forced fumble, and a pick 6. The dude is super athletic. If he gets the football in his hands, the offense got problems. They better hope that they did their tackling drills. Also in his sophomore season, the year before he tore his Achilles, Jermaine Johnson had 36 solo tackles and, like I said, 7.5 sacks, which is really good for a second-year player. Looking at what Jermaine Johnson has done so far this year, he's in his 4th year out of Florida State, stands 6'5", 254 pounds, so he is a first-round size type of dude. This guy is humongous. 11 tackles on the year, only 1 sack, which is lower than you would think, and 0 forced fumbles. But the reason why he has only 1 sack on this year is because he's been injured this season as well. But first round talented players like this who have played well when they're healthy, they're very expensive if they don't have an asterisk on them. And the asterisk on Jermaine Johnson has been his health concern so far in the NFL. The ankle injury that held him out for multiple games this season was different than the Achilles injury that he was recovering from over the summer. So Cowboys fans should not be too worried about him not being returned from that Achilles injury. The dude's back. The dude is the #1 pass rusher on the New York Jets, who have not a very good defense, but there are talented players on that team. So you may be asking, what would Jermaine Johnson cost for the Dallas Cowboys to go and acquire him? Now, he's a talented edge rusher who would only cost a 2nd-round pick. Now, your follow-up to that may be, but Matt, we already gave up our 3rd-round pick. Do you really want us to have no picks on day 2? And if we pick up George Pickens and Jermaine Johnson with those day 2 picks, yes, you absolutely should have no picks on day 2. Remember, the Dallas Cowboys will still have 2 picks on day 1. And don't forget, with a draft pick is not a player. They can always trade down from either the Green Bay Packers 1st-round pick or our own Dallas Cowboys 1st-round pick and go back into the 2nd round and pick up extra picks for the future. So if the Cowboys, there are multiple guys that they want to pick up and we don't have a 2nd or a 3rd-round pick, there will still be options for us to go ahead and figure out a solution to that problem. That's what's so great about 1st-round picks, why they're so valuable in the NFL and why they're so difficult to acquire via trade. Any team can use them. Every team wants them. The Dallas Cowboys having 2 for 2026 gives us an advantage when that draft comes. And even if we are lower on day 2 picks, there will still be an opportunity to recoup those picks via trade. So should the Dallas Cowboys pick up Jermaine Johnson, he would join a defensive line room currently featuring on the edges Sam Williams and Dante Fowler Jr. Dante Fowler Jr., the better of the 2 pass rushers. He's a guy who is usually a lock for about 8.5 sacks a season. The problem is he's never going over that. It's a good thing that he really doesn't go under that, but I don't want to call him a limited player, but it feels like we've seen the ceiling of Dante Fowler Jr. in the NFL, and it's still a pretty solid ceiling. 8.5 sacks per season is nothing to turn up your nose at, and it's something that the Dallas Cowboys need, of course, now that Micah Parsons is no longer here giving us double-digit sacks every season. The Dallas Cowboys need a closer, and that's something that Jermaine Johnson can bring to the table. He is more of a power rusher, but has both power rush moves and finesse moves. Like I said earlier in the video, a highly athletic defensive end that the Dallas Cowboys' new defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, can scheme up many things to do. And this Dallas Cowboys defense currently a bottom 5 defense in the league in terms of yards per game allowed. Jerry Jones has alluded that he doesn't want to trade for a pass rusher, but you could argue that you're going to play Jermaine Johnson at outside linebacker as well. So Jerry Jones could still be playing some mental gymnastics with his words, and he still could go out and acquire Jermaine Johnson from the New York Jets. The problem is, or one of the problems, a good problem to have, is you would have to pay Jermaine Johnson after sending away a second-round pick to acquire him. But if you have good players, is it really such a bad thing to have to pay them? That sounds like, my steak is too juicy, one of those situations. That's just a great problem to have. That's a problem that the Dallas Cowboys want to have. Right now, we need a closer. If you watch the Green Bay Packers games, at the end of their game against the Arizona Cardinals from 2 weeks ago, they were in a tight battle, but Micah Parsons closed the door on the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, and that's something that the Dallas Cowboys need to replace on their roster. Now, they could, of course, wait for this NFL draft in 2026 to happen, but if you don't want to wait that long, and we can't wait that long because we want to compete this year, there's no reason to waste this amazing offense with Dak Prescott and George Pickens, who may not be extended. You want to make sure we are taking full advantage of the team that we have this year. That we've seen what happens. We know that quarterbacks can get injured. Last season, Dak Prescott got injured early, which caused the entire season to spiral out of control. That can happen. You have to take advantage of years where all your best players are healthy. Right now, Dak Prescott's healthy. Ceedee Lamb back from an injury, but overall healthy. George Pickens is healthy. Offensive line getting healthier. Javonte Williams is healthy. Any one season, your starting quarterback can go down and derail the whole thing. You have to make sure you are maximizing the seasons when things aren't going catastrophically wrong, and that's why the Dallas Cowboys need to go out and acquire Jermaine Johnson in a trade. If it's only a second-round pick, this is a first-round talent, and I know part of what is so amazing about first-round picks is they're cheap for 4 years, and that would not happen with Jermaine Johnson. But at the same time, we're only giving up a second-round pick who are also going to be cheap for 4 years. But unless you hit on a really good player, they're not going to be as good and definitely not going to be as talented as Jermaine Johnson. The things you draft in the first round are traits and talents, and sometimes they're not as good as football. So, or not as good at football. But Jermaine Johnson, not only is he good, not only does he have both power and finesse pass rush moves, very, very athletic. He blocked multiple punts for the New York Jets over his short career there, and he's someone that the Dallas Cowboys need to be looking into acquiring. Trey Hendrickson, he's really, really old. I would understand why Jerry Jones would not want to pay up to go acquire that player. It does sound like the Cincinnati Bengals are selling Trey Hendrickson for a price tag much higher than what the man is actually worth. But Jermaine Johnson, the New York Jets are currently tanking. There is a new regime taking over. They have a new general manager who wants to put his own stamp on the team and using his own drafted players. So they don't want to use players that were drafted by the old regime. And if the old regime hit a home run on players like Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, those guys aren't going to go anywhere. But Jermaine Johnson is a player that is a little bit on the outs because they spent a first-round pick in 2023, the year after Jermaine Johnson was drafted, on a second edge rusher who is also a highly productive player. So the New York Jets may not be interested in paying two defensive beasts a high market number. They may want to spend their salary cap number somewhere else, and that's where the Dallas Cowboys would slide in, add them to our depth chart, and fill a big hole that has been left behind by the Micah Parsons trade. This is a move that Jerry Jones needs to look into and frankly needs to get done. But that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, thank you for watching. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel, and go Cowboys.